So, what are the best countries for LGBTQ plus people? To be clear, this list that we're talking about today does not include our usual affordability overlay. We're actually really focused here on inclusive laws and protections, exclusivity of discriminatory policies, and attitudes towards people. Our primary data source for this week's episode happens to be Spartacus Gay Travel Guide. That's what we use as the foundation for coming up with this list. So here are the 12 best countries in the world for LGBTQ people.
Coming in at number 12 is Uruguay.
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 Right. Per igltq.org, Uruguay is among the most liberal countries in the world and in South America, which is pretty awesome. Same-sex activity has been legal in Uruguay since 1934.
Before our parents were even born.
That is, when I saw that number, we had to confirm that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And anti-discrimination laws have been in place since 2004, which is pretty amazing. Same-sex marriages have been legalized since 2013. If you want to hear more about Uruguay, definitely check out Queer Money Podcast episode number 504, where we interviewed podcast host Mark Goldstein about where gays retire, and he talked a lot about Uruguay. And actually, one of his guests shared the amazing mural in Montevideo.
Yeah.
That shows two men flamenco dancing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like for the whole world to see. And it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to hide your children's eyes when they drive past. And of note, Montevideo Pride is in Uruguay's capital, obviously, and is the largest Pride celebration in the country and happens in late September.
All right. Coming in at number 11 is Norway. Again, this is a common thing. I think a lot of us think of these Northern European countries as being very LGBTQ friendly. Per Equaldex, same-sex activity has been legal since 1972. LGBTQ plus employment protections have been around since 1981. Marriage equality has been legal since 2009. And the right to change your name and gender on your legal documents has been legal since 2016. And Norway is ranked as the happiest country in the world, maybe because there are a lot of happy queer people there too, exactly. And happy queer allies there as well. LGBTQ bars and venues and cultural events mostly are found in Oslo. I think it's called Bergen.
Mm-hmm.
And
Trondheim.
Yeah, we are going to struggle a little bit with pronunciations during this.
I've got a scary one
episode.
coming up here soon.
Yeah, but Oslo's Pride is the biggest annual event, and that happens in late June.
Coming in at number 10 is Iceland, which everybody knows as the home of Bjork.
Yep.
Right? When you think of Iceland, you think of Bjork. Johanna Sturgendarscher. Did I say that right?
I don't remember.
I'm sorry, Johanna. I butchered your name.
Yes.
But Johanna is notable because she is Iceland's first female prime minister and the world's first openly LGBTQ plus head of government.
Woohoo! Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Props to that.
Since the 1990s, there have been a slew of legislation that makes Iceland one of the most LGBTQ plus friendly places on earth. Marriage equality has been in place since 1996. Equal adoption and IVF rights have been in place for same-sex couples since 2006. They formalized the name and identifying changing process for trans folks in 2012. We weren't even talking about marriage equality at that point.
No, exactly.
Yeah. And in 2020, Iceland was listed as the most LGBTQ plus friendly country per the Williams Institute. It's also one of the best sites in the world to see the Northern Lights or Borealis, and everybody should see that at least once in their life. Now, get this. There are 300,000 people approximately who live in Iceland, and estimates are that about 100,000 or 30% of those people attend the annual Pride and attend a Pride event, the largest being in Reykjavik in August, but there's also a Bear Week in September.
What would it be like if 30% of the U.S. population showed up to Pride events throughout the year? That would be over 100 million U.S. residents. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
So coming in at number 9 is Germany. Now, Germany, we all know, has not always had a great relationship with the LGBT community, but much of that has changed since World War II. In 1969, they decriminalized homosexual relationships between consenting adults. In 2017, Germany recognized same-sex partnerships with full legal equality to heterosexual marriages. And also in 2017, transgender people could start legally changing their gender without having to undergo surgery, which is interesting. There are a lot of countries around the world that still do require some sort of surgical procedure before you can actually change your gender. It has about 60 annual pride parades in the country, and the Teddy Award for the best LGBTQ film is an official part of the Berlin International Film Festival.
I find that name of that award pretty cute. You're listening to or watching Queer Money episode number 529. We're continuing to share our list of most affordable LGBTQ plus friendly cities, now stretching all across the world. This is our kickoff to our international edition, kind of a little bit for more of a fun perspective. We'll start weaving in the affordability overlay here shortly. This time, we're obviously not talking about affordability or retirement, but we will do that in a couple weeks. Last week, we covered the seven most affordable LGBTQ plus friendly college towns. If you'd like to watch that particular episode, you can do so by clicking right here or clicking the link in your podcast player.
Capital One Auto Navigator does more than just auto financing. We're here to help you find a car you love, too. Shop millions of cars from thousands of dealers nationwide. Research your favorite makes and models. Explore dealers near you and more. All on Auto Navigator.
Coming in at number 8 is Denmark. Denmark has legalized sexual activity between same-sex couples since 1933. Again, long before many of our parents were even born.
Yes.
It is the first country to establish a national association for gays and lesbians in 1948. It's also the first country in the world to grant legal recognition of same-sex unions in the form of registered partnerships in 1989. Again, long before we even talked about marriage equality.
Yeah.
Copenhagen is so accepting of LGBTQ plus folks that it is rated number 1 on Lonely Planet's list of the most gay-friendly places on the planet. Not so lonely, I guess.
Yeah.
And there's a quote from the British LGBT Awards where someone said, "It's hard to find a distinct LGBTQ plus neighborhood in Copenhagen until you realize that Copenhagen is the LGBTQ plus neighborhood of Scandinavia." I love that quote. I don't know exactly who said it, but it came from the British LGBT Awards. Copenhagen's summer pride is in mid-August, and they have a winter pride, which must be very cozy and warm, in
they're all
the first week of
out
February.
in their ice castles.
I guess that'd be fabulous. We have to do
exactly
a rainbow ice castle in Copenhagen. I would love that.
Yeah. My ex told me one time that when he was visiting Copenhagen, that it is really interesting that you don't necessarily find gay bars or queer bars because it is so open and accepted everywhere that you can pretty much go into any bar, and oftentimes you will find that there will be same-sex couples grouped together, or if you hit on somebody and they're not queer, it's not a big deal. They don't have a problem with it. So
yeah,
I think that's the kind of world we're all working
towards that, Denmark. Thanks for setting the bar.
Yeah, exactly. Number 7 is Switzerland. Now, per Equaldex, same-sex activity has been legal since 1991. Marriage equality has been legal since 2022, and the legal right to change your name and gender also came in 2022. They legalized gender-affirming care in 1995, which I think is interesting. Long before you could actually change your name and gender, they were legalizing gender-affirming care. There are 2 main queer hubs in Switzerland, and that is Zurich and Geneva, which kind of makes sense, 2 of the larger cities. Others include Basel, Bern, which is the capital of Switzerland, Lucerne, and St. Gallen. Let's not forget that Tina Turner called Switzerland home for a long time, and it was also the birthplace of Toblerone chocolate. So there's a lot of good things going on in Switzerland.
But I do think that we spent a couple of hours in Switzerland, and it's probably one of our most expensive couple of hours ever.
Yeah. Well,
Switzerland isn't cheap.
Our dinner there wasn't expensive. Just walking around and seeing the prices of things, we realized how expensive it would be to live there.
But beautiful city.
Yeah.
We'll have to go back and explore more. Coming in at number 6 is another country that we love and have visited, Australia. In 2013, Pew Research poll said that 79% of Australians agreed that homosexuality should be accepted by society.
Yeah.
79%.
Yep. Love
Holy moly. Okay. Also, per Equaldex, same-sex sexual activity has been legalized since 1997. Marriage equality became legal in 2017. Legal right to change your gender or name largely, but not wholly, became legal as well. There are some contingencies in Western Australia and New South Wales. Gender-affirming care was legalized in 1998, and non-binary recognition has been in place since 2011. It is the home of the world's most famous Mardi Gras festival in Sydney, which David and I attended a couple years ago with one of your favorite divas as the
Padam. Kylie Minogue was the master of
ceremonies. Yeah, she put on an amazing show.
Yep.
And it's also listed as one of the gayest Mardi Gras in the world.
Yeah.
Melbourne is also a magnet for queer folks because there's a thriving art and creative scene. And we also love Melbourne as well as Sydney. Definitely check out those places as well as Cairns if you want to check out some scuba diving. We didn't scuba dive.
Snorkeling.
We did some snorkeling. Beautiful and amazing. And we still think about that in my dreams.
Yeah. Coming in at number 5 again is another one of our favorite countries that we've been to several times, and that is Spain. Spain first repealed laws against sodomy back in 1822. 200 years ago, it was legal.
They were trying to accommodate all those.
Same-sex activity was legal.
They were trying to accommodate all those pirates.
Yeah, exactly. But as we know, it was then reenacted, made illegal in the 1930s when the fascist governments came in. Same-sex activity then became legal once again in 1979. And they also had an equal age of consent for heterosexual intercourse, which is very interesting. You do see this when you look at some of these countries where the laws that they were passing, where it was okay for heterosexuals to have sex at age 14, 15, 16, but sometimes it was 18, 20, 21 for same-sex couples. So it's great to see that it's actually the same here in Spain.
I think that bit of history there is something for many LGBTQ plus folks to pay attention to, especially with the contentious debates that we're having these days, and especially in the United States. It's just because we've made some progress doesn't mean that that progress can't be repealed.
Yeah.
And we've obviously been talking about that on this show. But for those who haven't been paying attention, maybe check out some of our other material as well as material about the risks of the upcoming election.
Right. And that's actually one of the points about Spain here. Spain did legalize same-sex marriage and adoption rights for same-sex couples in 2005. But there has been a recent movement towards the right with local governments, and we have seen a rise in things like censorship in movies, art, and music. And there actually has been some pushback against the trans community, especially the far right-leaning governments in and around Madrid. Madrid and Barcelona do have the two biggest pride celebrations in Europe. In the country, but you don't want to miss Sitges Bear Festival, which is a 10-day celebration in Sitges every September. We were there once.
Why do you think most bear celebrations are in my birth month?
I don't know. Maybe you're a cub. So there are many other small gay enclaves in Spain that we love, including Sitges, Torremolinos, and the Canary Islands, which are off the coast of northern Africa.
Exactly. You could see Africa from some people's houses. Worth noting that we collected much of this data from Spartacus Travel Guide. They have several qualifiers to be ranked on this list, such as anti-discrimination policies, marriage equality, recognition, adoption rights, trans rights. One of the more interesting qualifiers was that does the country market itself to the world as LGBTQ plus friendly? So definitely check that out. We'll link to the current Spartacus Travel Guide that we're currently using for this list in this week's Queer Money newsletter. So you want to make sure you're subscribed to that to easily do that, and as well as to get this growing list of data that we've been compiling over the last, I guess, year and a half now. You want free access to that, simply go to queermoneypodcast.com/cities. And then remember to smash that like and share button if you're watching us on YouTube, and let other LGBTQ plus folks know about this list and this show.
All right, coming in at number 4, Portugal. Now, Portugal has had allowed same-sex activity. It was first decriminalized again back in the 1800s in 1852, but then it was recriminalized in 1886 with a change of government.
So that wasn't even 30 years.
Right.
Or maybe just a little bit more than 30 years
Yeah.
before it was, so it wasn't even 40 years.
Right.
And I think it's something for us to pay attention to, is that
Right.
can easily go back, and we need to continue to stay on our guard.
Right. In 1982, same sexual activity was again, excuse me, decriminalized. Portugal has recognized unregistered cohabitation, or individuals who could, same-sex individuals living together, since 2001, and then same-sex marriage since 2010.
Laverne and Shirley would have loved that.
Since 2016, Portuguese law has allowed for the adoption of children by same-sex couples. And since 2004, the Constitution of Portugal has prohibited any form of discrimination based on sexual orientation, making Portugal one of the only countries in the world to actually enshrine a ban on discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity in its constitution.
It's crazy.
Since 2018, Portugal has allowed an adult person to change their legal gender without any requirements, and individuals who are minors, ages 16 and 17, can do so with parental consent as well as a psychological opinion. And they, when I read about this, they said specifically they wanted to make sure that young people were not feeling like they were being coerced into changing their gender identity markers. There are two main celebrations in Portugal. One of them is in Lisbon, which is actually called Ariel
Lisboa.
Ariel Lisboa Pride, and then that's in June, and then Porto Pride is in July.
And we thoroughly enjoyed Lisboa ourselves. Yeah. David had one of the best days ever, where we went canoeing and one of us did all the work.
Sea kayaking.
Yeah, well, either way, one of us did most of the work. I won't say who. All right, rounding out number 3 is another one of our favorite countries, New Zealand. New Zealand's legalized same-sex relationships and activities in pre-colonial Maori society. So even before like the white people came. And then of course, the Brits came and kind of changed all that. But if you are attracted to Polynesian folks, as some people on this show are,
there's a lot of
want to check out New Zealand, because there are a lot of Polynesian hotties down there.
Exactly.
And then of course, as we said, the Brits came along with their religion and their conservativeness, and kind of tried to erase homosexuality and criminalize it. Except they did it for men only, not for women.
Which is
they were like,
really interesting.
Go on, girls, have your good time. But apparently it's offensive for two men to have their good time. Anyway, in 1986, homosexual acts between men was then decriminalized, which is progress for everybody. Same-sex marriage was legalized in 2013. Lesbian women who have trouble conceiving using private donor insemination may be eligible, as other NZ women are, to get help through public-funded fertility treatment.
I think that's really cool that the government actually has a publicly funded fertility treatment fund that can help individuals who are struggling to get pregnant to get that assistance.
In 2020,
cheap.
No, not at all. In 2023, NZ started to allow trans and non-binary folks to update their gender on their birth certificates without having to show proof of surgical sex changes, which is pretty progressive. And the biggest Pride celebrations are in Auckland in February and Wellington in late February or early March. And legitimately, one of the most relaxing days we ever had in our entire lives, both of us, was in New Zealand when we were on the Pebble Beach in Kaikoura.
Yep.
After we went dolphin swimming. Dolphin diving.
Yeah.
Amazing day.
Coming at number 2 is Malta. Now, Malta oftentimes shows up on the top of lists. That's in part because Malta legalized same-sex activity in 1973 with an age of consent at 16, which was equal, again, to heterosexual individuals. Malta has enshrined LGBTQ rights in their constitution, similar to Portugal, making it one of only a few countries around the world to do so. And discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity and gender expression has been banned nationwide since 2004. Out magazine They declared Malta as being amongst the best European countries in terms of LGBTQ rights. And Malta will celebrate its 20th Pride this September, September 6th through the 15th this year. So check out gaymalta.com, which is powered by their primary LGBT organization, which is called Allied Rainbow Communities, for the resources around both traveling and living in Malta.
And the Malta LGBT Chamber of Commerce has invited us to come visit, actually twice now. So we need to somehow make that happen.
Yeah. Time to spend some of those miles that we have banked.
Yeah, we got some miles burning a hole in our pocket. So maybe we got to go to Malta. With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One, N.A., member FDIC.
All right, coming in at number 1, not much of a surprise to us. It's our neighbors to the north.
Oh,
Canada. In 2019, Forbes listed Canada as the friendliest country for LGBTQ travelers. And on June 8th, 2024, the government of Canada announced a landmark partnership with the Rainbow Railroad to identify and refer at-risk LGBTQI plus refugees throughout the world to through a government-assisted refugee program.
It's almost like Canadians actually read the Bible.
Yes, and said, "Love your neighbor as yourself,"
or the Statue of Liberty's plaque.
Yeah, exactly. They legalized same-sexual activity in 1969, same-sex marriage in 2005. There were no legal restrictions since 2017. There are no legal restrictions since 2017 to change your name or gender on your legal documents, and there has been legal recognition of non-binary folks since 2019. Toronto's Pride, which is a month-long celebration in June.
A whole month.
Those neighbors to the north love to party. That attracts millions of people to the city. Toronto is the home of Woody's, the famed bar where Canadian-American producer of Queer as Folk was filmed, and
Fierté Montreal Pride is held in August.
Yeah, I think that I can't remember. I'm forgetting my French here, but I think that means festival.
It looks festive to me. It's got the accent. Tay. So what are your thoughts? Share them in the comments on YouTube, TikTok, or Spotify, or wherever you happen to be watching or listening to us. See all the data that we're compiling for this growing series over the last year and a half or so by going to queermoneypodcast.com/cities.
The mission of Queer Money is to financially empower the LGBTQ plus community. Join us in thanking Capital One for supporting that mission.
Join us next Tuesday when we talk with personal finance expert Michael Kim about why and how he started planning for retirement in his 20s. And then next Thursday for another installment in our Queer Cities series.
If you'd like to see the data from this growing list that we're compiling, please go to queermoneypodcast.com/cities. Click the link in your podcast player or click the link right here if you happen to be watching. Thank you and have an amazing week.
Bye.